Welcome to Overtime with Taylor Tanner College Football Edition. And man, oh man, we've got a lot to talk about. Florida State, they're looking pretty bad. Miami looking really, really good. And we're going to talk about some Week 2 games, so let's get right into it. Florida State stinks. I hate to say it, but it's the truth, man. DJU needs to go. DJ, he overthrew so many receivers. I tell you what, it is insane. Like this kid is talented. He is really, really talented. But man, oh man, DJU was in the same high school recruiting class as CJ Stroud, as Anthony Richardson, and guess what? He was rated out of high school better than both of those guys. CJ Stroud, a potential future MVP, and Anthony Richardson, you know what he can do. He is an athlete and he can play really, really good. But DJU is none of this. This kind of proves to me that high school recruiting really isn't all that. Like, sure, you can get a 5-star, but he isn't guaranteed to be elite. And man, FSU, they need a new quarterback. Their backup quarterback is Brock Glenn. Brock Glenn is pretty good. He played a little bit last year after Jordan Travis's injury, and he didn't play the greatest, but, you know, he was a good quarterback, and he can develop. He can develop into something better, something really good. But if you're Florida State, you've seen what DJU can do in the first 2 games. He was really, really bad. So you know what? Let's bring in another quarterback. What's going to hurt to start Brock Glenn against Memphis? Sure, Memphis isn't a team to mess around with, but put in Brock Glenn. If I'm Mike Norvell, that's what I'm going to do. I'll put in Brock Glenn because DJU just didn't do it. He didn't cut it. And man, they lost to Boston College, right? 28-13 was the score. Their defense couldn't stop Boston College's run game, which is just flat out awful. Florida State preseason, they were projected to go all the way to the playoffs. Everyone projected, even Nick Saban, former head coach of Alabama, now he's a college football analyst. He said this Florida State team is really, really good. Coach Saban, I'm sorry, I just don't see it. They lost to Boston College. And Boston College, they got a good quarterback. Castellanos is awesome. He can run down your throat. He can throw down your throat. But man, they beat Florida State, and they just dominated the whole game. Florida State's got Memphis next, right? Can they beat Memphis? Who knows? They might start off the season 0-3, and then their ACC hopes fall down the drain. Something about this Florida State team, they went heavy in the transfer portal. And maybe this is proof that, hey, maybe the transfer portal isn't a means to an end. Maybe the transfer portal can only help you out. You know, Clemson, we'll talk about them a little later. They haven't hit the transfer portal, and look what happened to them. But yeah, we'll see what happens with this Florida State team. Now, still in the ACC, the Hurricanes, Miami University, Cam Ward, a guy you need to know. This guy is the epitome of hard worker. He started off at FCS Incarnate Word. He played really, really good there. He got the call from Washington State. He was awesome at Washington State. Had a little bit of a turnover bug, but he was really, really good. And now here he is at Miami. And man, oh man, this guy is legit. He's my Heisman favorite after week 1. I know it's early, but if I had to put my money on a Heisman winner, it will be Cam Ward. You know, the ACC is Miami's to lose. They just dominated Florida. And I mean, everyone's saying, Florida, we don't know what they're going to be like because their schedule is so tough. But man, Graham Mertz didn't look great. Their defense was all right. We saw Mobile native, Faith Academy, superstar, Shamar James get a big pick. I was hyped for him, you know, representing Mobile. A lot of Mobile talent who played really, really well week 1. But man, Miami is legit. In my opinion, they're a top 10 team in the nation, maybe even top 5. We shall see. Now, we spoke briefly on Clemson in the beginning of the show, but man, Georgia just dominated them. Georgia proved to me that they are the best team in college football. Their defense was elite. Offense started off kind of rough. It was a really low-scoring game going into the second half. But then, that second half, they turned it up. Clemson couldn't answer. Clemson, man, this team has so much potential if you can just go to the transfer portal. Clemson, add 2-3 transfers. This team is already better than what they once were. Like, Klubnik isn't the quarterback who is going to win games for you, Clemson. But man, oh man, I hate it for Clemson. I love Dabo Swinney. He's a great coach. But man, can't be stubborn and say, I'm going to do it my way. I'm just going to recruit freshmen and build them up. Like, yeah, you need that, but you also need to dabble in the transfer portal just a little bit. Like, imagine, right? Imagine Cam Ward Imagine Clemson gives Cam Ward an offer. Of course he's going to Clemson. I'd go to Clemson over Miami just because of the historical value. Dabo Swinney, I think, is a way better coach than what Miami has. So imagine if Cam Ward went to Clemson. I think Clemson turns into a potential playoff favorite. But now Clemson, I don't even think they'll make the ACC championship, especially with some good teams like Boston College is really good, Georgia Tech. I know I just listed 2 teams who beat Florida State, but man, both of those teams are really good. This ACC is Miami's to lose. I don't think I see a clear number 2 in the ACC who can really compete with Miami yet. But then again, it is week 1. Everyone is going to overreact. Let's talk about the SEC. The SEC teams just really dominated. I know week 1, they play really small competition, not the best competition, but I mean Alabama, Ole Miss, Texas, and Tennessee. All of their offenses looked really, really great. SEC is going to be a fun conference to watch when it comes to SEC play, because when that happens, we really get to see who the good teams are in the conference and who are the bad teams in the conference. And hey, look at Vanderbilt. I know I was talking crap on them on my first ever show, but hey, Vandy came out with a big win against Virginia Tech, who was also an ACC favorite to be a sleeper in the ACC. But Vanderbilt came out on top with a big win in overtime. Diego Pavia, hey, from New Mexico State, he could be a sleeper quarterback too. I mean, hey, he looked really, really good. Vanderbilt, they could start the season 3-0 going to play Missouri. And hey, they might even beat Missouri and go 4-0 playing Alabama. We've seen this before somewhere a couple years ago when Vandy went undefeated. And then everyone's like, oh, they're going to beat Alabama. They're going to beat Alabama. What happened? Alabama destroyed them because Bama don't play, and Bama didn't play week 1. Ryan Williams, the Mobile, Alabama native, he went off. He had 2 receptions for over 100 yards and a touchdown. Freshmen are going to be relied on for this Bama team, and freshmen showed they can play some ball, especially 17-year-old Ryan Williams. I hope he does really good, and we'll see a future NFL star in Ryan Williams. You heard it here. Anybody from Mobile can tell you that Ryan Williams is a stud. Now, still talking about the SEC, but on the downside, USC beat LSU. That's right. University of Southern California just destroyed LSU. And let me tell you what, Miller Moss, this guy is someone who just loves USC. So his mother was a USC fan, and he finally got the offer to come to USC to be the quarterback. He went to USC. Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams was there 2 years. Miller Moss couldn't beat him out. All right. Then USC brings in 5-star quarterback Malachi Nelson. Right, Miller Moss still stays at USC, knowing he's got competition with Malachi Nelson. Malachi Nelson was supposed to be this amazing quarterback. He transfers out of USC, and Miller Moss finally gets his opportunity to be the starting quarterback. And he really just torched this LSU defense. 378 yards and 1 touchdown. What a performance from Miller Moss. This guy, I think, could be another Heisman favorite. My 2 favorite quarterbacks coming out of week 1, Miller Moss and Cam Ward. Those 2 guys are going to be legit. USC, they can play some ball. USC is going to be a fun team to watch, maybe even a playoff contender. We shall see, especially with Miller Moss at quarterback. Miller Moss might be a sleeper guy, you know. I doubt he goes to the NFL this year, but next year, if he performs, Miller Moss might be NFL ready and might go to the NFL. All right, and the last game, let's talk about the Fighting Irish. Notre Dame beat Texas A&M, and I called it. I said Notre Dame was going to win this game. A&M didn't look all that special. They really, really didn't. Notre Dame, though, they looked really, really good. Defense was good. Their secondary was awesome. Their young and experienced O-line was supposed to be the weak point of this team, but man, they just dominated the run game. Riley Leonard looked really good. This Notre Dame team is going to be really good in the future, and I think they're going to be a playoff lock. I already see this team going to the playoffs. I doubt they win a national championship, but they'll make the playoffs for sure. All right, now it's time to look ahead at week 2. We already went through the week 1 preview. That took about 10 minutes. You know, short and sweet. I don't like going long on these podcasts. I know some people do. We will in the future. We'll get interviews with people. We might get some South Alabama, some local players. We'll end the show every week with South Alabama talk. That's just how it goes. That's how it goes. Save the best for last, and that's the Jaguars. Now, looking at week 2 games, the sleeper game, in my opinion, is Arkansas at Oklahoma State. Arkansas's got Taylon Green, and Taylon Green looked really, really good. That guy is fast. I think he's better than KJ Jefferson for sure. If this Oklahoma State team needs to win, they need to pound that ball down Arkansas's throat. This is going to be the best defense they see so far because, I mean, week 1 they played South Dakota State. Now they're playing an SEC defense. I don't trust Alan Bowman to throw for over 300 yards against this Arkansas defense. I really don't. SEC level defense, I don't trust Alan Bowman. And we've seen Oklahoma State struggle early. Last year against South Alabama, lost that game. Go Jags. But now the Razorbacks go into Oklahoma State. It's going to be a home field advantage for sure for Oklahoma State. But hey, Arkansas fans aren't going to sleep. Arkansas fans really believe this is their year, especially with Bobby Petrino at offensive coordinator. That dude is a good OC, and OK State's got to watch out. I have the Razorbacks upsetting Oklahoma State in Oklahoma State. So hopefully that happens. It would be awesome to see Arkansas back in the hunt for an SEC championship. We shall see. Don't want to overrate Arkansas too soon. I got a buddy who's a big Arkansas fan, but we shall see. Next game I want to talk about is a game people are saying is going to be a good game. I really don't think so. I don't hate NC State by any means, but it's Tennessee at NC State. I think the Vols are just going to dominate this game. Nico, we're just going to call him Nico. We're not even going to try to pronounce his last name, right? He's one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC. This guy looked awesome. I mean, to be fair, they played Chattanooga, a really low-level team. But I think Tennessee wipes the floor with NC State. I think Tennessee's offense is just going to torch this NC State defense. The only way NC State, I think, can win, Grayson McCall has to play like the world is going to die if he doesn't win, The sky's falling. You've got to play to par. The only way NC State can win is if Grayson McCall goes head-to-head with Nico in passing yards and touchdowns. This game could either be a Tennessee blowout or it could be an offensive juggernaut. Another game I've got, Appalachia State at Clemson. Okay, listen. This game is one of those games. Clemson just lost a tough one to Georgia. Week 1 jitters out the way. You've played a football game. It's week 2. Clemson's going to hit the ground running. Clemson is favored by 17. I think App State covers that 17 margin. Joey Aguilar is the best quarterback in the Sun Belt by far, in my opinion. Maybe Gio Lopez, but hey, we'll talk about Gio later. But this Clemson team, after getting beat by Georgia, this is one of those games where we got to put our pedal to the metal. We've got to win football games. And I think this is a game they win, but it's going to be a close one. App State's going to fight. App State's one of those teams that always end up upsetting a Power 5 team. We've seen it in the past. We've seen it when they played Michigan. They upset Michigan one time. Maybe App State upsets Clemson, but I think Clemson's going to pull away at the end. But I think App State's definitely going to cover the plus 17. Maybe Clemson wins by a touchdown or two, but I don't think Clemson will win by 17. We shall see. But I got App State covering and Clemson winning. Now time for the big game in the big house. Texas at Michigan. Michigan isn't the same team that they were last year. Their defense is still beyond elite, but their offense needs some help. I think Texas is going to really show why they are elite. I think Texas wins by 2 touchdowns. The only way Michigan can win this game is if their defense gets turnovers, scores from the defensive side of the ball, is able to get turnovers in positive field position for Michigan. And that's the only way I see Michigan winning. Their defense has to play exceptional. Their defense has to play really, really well. Texas, though, with Quinn Ewers, with Isaiah Bond, I can go on and on just naming players on this Texas team because they have elite talent. I think Texas is going to take it to Michigan. Alex Orji should start for Michigan because he can open up this game by running. He may not be the best thrower, but he can open up the game on his feet. And I'm a firm believer that if you're a quarterback and you can open up the game with your legs, you should be the starting quarterback because that makes the defense guess. You've got to shrink the field a little bit when you have a quarterback who can run because you don't want the quarterback to take off for a 20-yard gain just like that. But I think Texas is going to win this game. Quinn Ewers and Isaiah Bond, that connection is just going to be crazy. So now it's time to end the show with some talk about the Jags. That's right, South Alabama Jaguars. They played North Texas, right? Okay, we lost to North Texas pretty bad, 52-38. I can say we. I went to school at South Alabama, and I was an equipment manager, so I was technically part of the – I was part of the team, all right? I can say we. I helped this team win a 68 Ventures Bowl title. That's right. All right, anyways, they lost. We lost 52-38. But, man, Gio Lopez, a name you need to know, a name you need to remember. Maybe we'll be able to get Gio on this show one day, but we shall see. But, man, this guy broke the South Alabama single-game school record for passing yards with 432 yards against North Texas. There was one play, a defensive lineman was jumped on top. He was jumped on top of Gio's back. He broke the tackle of a big, about 300-pound man on his back. He rolled out and he threw a dart to the end zone for a big touchdown. There was another play. He rolled out. He missed. 2 tacklers missed. And then he threw another dot to the sideline. This guy can make plays, and this is the guy any team would want. I think Gio is going to hit the transfer portal after this year because he is that good of a player. But, man, he was electric to watch. Our defense just needs a lot of help against North Texas. I trust in our defense. I think the Jags have the players on defense. A lot of them are just really, really young. But, hey, we got Ohio next. We travel to Ohio, so it's going to be a long trip for the Jags. But, hey, I think this is a must-win for the Jags. We need to show everyone that our offense can be elite and our defense can be elite. But we shall see. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed the show, College Football Talk. We'll have some guests on the show in the future. Just stay put. I'll try my hardest to get some guys, especially in the meat and potatoes of college football season. I got a few people I can call who'll be able to make the trip down, or just call them in. A little Zoom action never hurt nobody. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Make sure to follow me on my socials at OT with TT on Instagram and Twitter. And remember, Wednesdays we have NFL talk. Thursdays we have college football talk. I'll see you next time. You've been listening to Overtime with Taylor Tanner.